Hi there, this is Richard White again. Haven't produced a video in a little bit, so here's another one. This is a very simple one to tie, so it's a cranefly larva. This one's a particularly dark one. You can tie them in pretty much any colors, from pinkish tans to browns to olives. Or what I find the most important thing is to be a lot of variation in the color in whatever you're tying. Now, most people are familiar with cranefly adults. They're kind of like giant mosquitoes. In the UK, they call them daddy longlegs or daddies. Many people here just think of them as like Jurassic mosquitoes. But the larvae, they're on the bottom, burrowing in the bottom, eating a little bit of everything. They're in pretty much any body of water, whether it be moving water or still water. They're everywhere. Trout are used to them. Their body shape essentially resembles that of an oversized maggot. No noticeable legs, just worm-like body. What's cool about it is the body can be thick almost anywhere along its length, since they can constantly change their shape as they move. They can also swim, and when they swim, they have an undulating motion, a little bit like a spastic version of a leech. So that's why one of the reasons I like tying them on these hooks, which are the Daiichi 1870s. They give you that illusion of swimming and motion. The other nice thing about them is, because of the curve in them, if you put the weight in this rear section, they will swim with the hook point up. So you can bounce these on the bottom, which is where cranefly larvae spend almost their entire lives, on or burrowing in the bottom. So I like being able to imitate that. This one is tied particularly large. This is on a size 6. I'd rather be tying them on 10s, but I've been finding these smaller Daiichi 1870s very difficult to get my hands on lately. So this one is tied on a larger hook. We'll get into the best way to tie them in just a minute. Let me take this off and we'll show how you tie this very simple yet very effective fly. So start by putting in one of the hooks. Again, has that unusual hook shape, but one that's really nice for being able to tie upside down. Now, you can weight them any way you like. I prefer using copper wire to lead. Copper wire is almost as dense. It's a lot denser than the so-called lead-free wires, and it is non-toxic. So that's the main reason I prefer it to the lead wire. Now, notice I'm going to be tying it in, excuse me, let me get that up, using it almost like thread, holding the free end, wrapping, but I'm going to concentrate all the weight in that rear curve so that it will invert the hook in the water. So since it's going to be in the rear curve, I want to come a little way around the bend. It's a big, long, continuous bend, but I don't want to get into where the bend gets sharper. Then I can come back over and layer this copper wire. Every so often, let it spin since it's in a bobbin. And I'll come not quite as far forward and back over it, and I'll go up 4 or 5 layers deep to build up weight and to give it a little bit of a profile. But as I said, the craneflies, almost any part of the body at a given moment can be the thickest part, so you don't really need to worry a great deal about where is it thicker or thinner. So I'll tie until I'm happy with how much I've put on. It's about 100 turns, in this case of 32 gauge magnet wire, which I find is light enough to be easy to work with. You can nicely build a taper with it, but it adds a significant amount of weight to the fly. Once I've weighted the fly, I will bring on my thread. I'll try to ramp it up onto the copper. Go over the copper wire a little bit, but it's not that important. Just smoothing it a little bit, but the yarn or the fibers I'm going to use will cover and smooth everything out all by itself. So now for the, you can use almost any kind of yarn or even things like EP fiber you like. The important thing is it be a color that you want to use. I'm tying them right now in this darker, this sort of mottled darker brown. So I'm going to take a pretty good section of it. I've got over a foot, maybe a foot and a half here, because I'm going to wrap and twist it on as I go. So have my thread right at the where the front end of where my weight is. Then I'm going to bind that onto the shank. And I'm using that mostly just to give me a little bit smoother in the area in front of the lead so I don't have a sudden transition. And then almost to the eye, bind it down firmly, go in front of it, and now it's all wrapping. Now you can see this is a yarn with multiple strands. So what I'm going to do is, looking at it, I'm twisting it tightly clockwise as I wrap, and that will keep it fairly taut. And every time I go around, I'm just rolling my fingers to add a little more twist. With every turn around the hook, I give it a twist. And I'm going to do this going all the way back and then all the way forward. So twist and twist and turn, trying not to let the copper show through. Twist and turn, rinse and repeat as I go down. The nice thing about the twisting is it gives, and then I always want to make sure I go off the copper so I get a little bit of a taper. Then I'm going to come back up doing the same thing, and it's especially important on the second layer to put a good twist into it, because that's going to create the segmentation, because the cranefly larvae are very noticeably segmented. So making sure you build segmentation into your fly is very useful. This particular yarn is particularly tough stuff. And you can do almost anything you like with it. As I was saying, any yarn you like. I tie some of these with EP fibers. I like those especially because they are, many of them have multiple colors in them rather than being a single color. And I want that variegation. So now I'm going to rotate this so I keep the thread as far away from where I'm cutting. Cut off the excess of the yarn, and notice I left a very small amount. That was, and it's just purely practice figuring out how much you need. Then create a small head. I'm just using a 6/0 brown thread. Again, something fairly similar in color to the color of the yarn. Then whip finish. Add a bit of head cement. And we are finished. As I said, it's a simple fly. It is effective. One you definitely want to bounce down the bottom. Let it, again, the fact that it will swim in the inverted position will keep it from, well, nothing ever keeps it 100% from snagging, but it will greatly reduce the number of snags you get. I hope that proves helpful to people. And good luck with your fishing. I'd appreciate any comments or questions people have. You can feel free to leave those down below. Again, thank you very much. Bye-bye.